That was business.
Sure, kind of.
Nutritional strategy.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
To your clients.
Put zucchini in your super shakes. This crazy guy from Kansas says so.
Hell yeah.
So
100% of the Kansas chapter does it.
there you go.
So what kind of business shit do we want to talk about today?
Casey, you had stuff that you posted, didn't you, buddy?
Yeah. The big one is, and it's kind of, it feels obvious when I say it, but in case I'm just missing something, or if there's like little tidbits you guys have that kind of slide under, when is it appropriate, or when do you know that you need to make a new hire?
What kind of hire?
A new employee, like adding a new coach to staff or whatever it might be.
So coach as opposed to admin?
Yes.
Ooh, I mean, I have opinions on this, but I'm going to defer to all of you guys because you all coach alongside other people and know when to make that call.
I didn't even think admin. Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off. But I didn't even think admin.
Well, from
a
coach standpoint, we push it to a point where our coaches are functioning at or as close as possible to capacity before we add a team member. And then when we do it, it's a real group think. Hires are no longer just Eric and I make a call. What we do is we have everyone on the staff nominate candidates that they'd like to see interviewed. And I will issue an interview offer to 100% of the people that team members nominate. And the only rule is you are not allowed to have any opinion at all on the hire if you don't participate in the interview process. So you got to make the time to get here and be involved in that conversation and be part of asking the difficult questions. Like if you want to nominate someone and have a say, then you damn well better participate in the process, because everybody's got an opinion, but not everybody wants to do the hard part. And the hard part is screening the candidates. And so for us, it's get them to a point where your coaches really don't have the time available to design any more training materials or coach sessions on the clock. Because when I make a hire, it's so that my employees aren't taking work home with them. And then when it comes time to actually make that hire, get the whole team involved so that they have a little bit of accountability to the outcome. But again, just one person's opinion. What do you guys do at your gyms?
Is this me? Do I do this now? What made us hire? For us, it was, well, Chris and I don't have a Pete. Chris and I are collectively Pete. So we both needed more time off the floor to do business development stuff. So when it got to the point where it got crunch time and we needed more time, that's when we hired, and we hired very slow. I mean, I think you all know, like at CSP, you have to be an intern before we'll hire you. And we brought her in for low hours, and gradually worked her up. But it was just, for us, it was like, if we don't have somebody else on staff soon and take some of these hours off of our hands in coverage, we can't do what we need to do to make the business bigger, because we just grew into a really big space that we need a lot more clients for. So that was what kind of sparked our decision. So.
Makes sense.
What about the admin, Pete? Like you mentioned that. Do you have any tidbits on that?
Hiring the admin, the pace at which we did it was among one of the biggest mistakes I've made in running our business. And it's not a mistake in the sense that it cost me money. Like I was spending ridiculously. It was an opportunity cost issue. And I was too attached to this like bootstrapping mentality that we needed to constantly, cut as many corners as we can and stretch each other, including ourselves, as far as possible. And what happened was I hate to lean on cliches, but I was too caught up in working in the business and not on it. And so that first year that we introduced an admin for short money, like $15, $16 an hour type deal, we increased revenues by 36%. So I had added over $100,000 in revenue in year one after adding about $25,000 worth of payroll. And it was just it got me into the back office to think a little bit more strategically about how we position our brand and how we kind of the forward facing version of our business, what our social strategy was going to be and how we're going to connect with thought leaders and opinion leaders, and just get our message out there faster, I went to effectively full-time that, and it created a ton of business. And it was one of those things where we, in hindsight, I was really dragging my heels and avoiding the reality that I didn't need to be the person crossing people's names off in a schedule and swiping credit cards for training sessions when I could pay somebody to do that and print programs and just get the kind of trivial administrative type shit done. And I could be focusing on the bigger earning type stuff. And so hindsight's 2020. I probably should have done it about 18 months earlier. But I didn't, and we learned. And I think that if I were to be looking for indicators now for businesses where it's an option, I think it's the moment that the office becomes a little bit too chaotic to effectively give the pitch. Like if somebody walks in or a phone call comes, do you actually have the time, if you're both coach, admin, all of these things at once, do you have the time to take those in the moment? And most gyms end up putting those off and calling them off hours. So for us, adding an admin was nice because I could be in that back office and I could always get on the phone and sell. And I could always bring a walk-in into my office and explain the model without it compromising professionalism and just attention to detail with the basics of running our space, greeting clients, transitioning them into the training space, answering simple questions, scheduling, stuff like that. That was getting in the way of selling. And so once we realized that was the moment we made the move. People take issue with that, share that experience.
No, that was good. I never even really thought of when or why or how someone in a designated admin role would even make sense, even if it's in a part-time basis during, peak busy hours. You really, I think you said, can you effectively take someone off the training floor should they walk in or phone call in the moment? That's a really good indicator.
I think I published a blog on 5 considerations before hiring an admin or something like that a couple years back. I'll pull it up and I'll drop it into the forum after our call. Let me make a note on that. Are we the only business on this feed that has an admin right now?
No, Strength Faction has an admin.
Please tell me more.
Really, we're working her. It's actually one of our coaches at the gym. She's actually the latest coach that we hired. And we just wanted, in case she really just handles the declines for billing right now. So whatever declines come in from a credit card standpoint, I look at the list and I send it to her. And I'm like, hey, can you reach out? She has a script or a template to reach out to people and say, hey, something happened with your card. This shit happens. Did it get updated? Did blah, 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 did something happen? So we have her do that for us, and we're slowly going to add a little bit more and more and more to her plate. So the first thing was was Chris and I thinking I don't want people to be like, oh shit, when they see my name pop up in an email. You know what I mean? Oh, it's Todd reaching out to me about billing, and I don't want that. I want them to be like, Todd's emailing me. Let's talk to Todd. I want that to be the case. So I was like, well, let's put a barrier between that, and it also just takes a little bit of the work off because, for whatever reason, and it's not people's fault, just credit cards get fucked up and banks get fucked up. There's 10 to 15 declines every month that we have to go get, so.
Same deal here.
Yeah.
It's a never-ending process. It is nice to let the admin be the bad guy. The key, when you hire an admin, you need a hard ass. You need somebody who's, 1, not afraid to ask for money, and 2, is unapologetic about it, which is, it sounds easy in theory, but it's actually a difficult personality type to track down.
It is. Megan is that. So.
And I don't mean it in a negative way.
No,
it's
not at all.
Strangely complimentary.
For sure.
Does that answer your question, hopefully, thoroughly?
Casey.
Yes, it did. Sorry. I'm having troubles with the mute button. Yes, it did. That was perfect.
Cool. What else did we chat about?
That makes me want to ask a question then. So when you guys do your interviews, what kind of questions do you guys ask in your actual hiring interviews? Because I know it's all interns, right? Former interns. So what do you ask them?
Yeah, it's more about kind of their career aspirations. Because for me, the best kind of employee is someone who's entrepreneurial in nature, who isn't going to look at their time on our training floor as their everything. It's time on the training floor is kind of, to be a good employee with us is, it's like a complementary part in a bigger picture employment endeavor. So I want people who are going to have some online earning potential. I want people who have ambitions of creating content or speaking publicly. I want people who see their alignment with our business as an opportunity to generate additional income outside of our payroll dollars, because we're never going to be the most competitively positioned hourly wage, but we are always going to be in the top 1% of being able to give our employees opportunity to leverage their affiliation with the brand and leverage the size of our following and our audience and get in front of a big room, like almost 200 people at our fall seminar. I can put an intern in front of that room and kind of polish up their presenting chops and, expand their reach. I need people who embrace that mentality, because otherwise there's a pretty low ceiling with us. You can earn a livable wage with us, but you're never going to be rich, like extremely wealthy by collecting an hourly wage from us and getting your health insurance and your benefits. However, if you figure out how to take advantage of all of the perks that come with being kind of under this umbrella, you can make a great living. It's just that I need to know that you're that kind of nature. And those are the questions that we're asking, trying to get a feel for what their optimal takeaway would be from being part of the team. And if it's someone who just wants to punch the clock, they're not a fit. Whereas if it's somebody who is excited about learning every day from the rest of the team and being part of this kind of groupthink mentality, then they're a great fit.
Cool.
I don't have any firm and hard interview questions. I don't try and treat it like you ever hear about those McKinsey interview questions?
I don't think
they ask these mind fucking questions, and they just want to see you either stumble your way through it or rationalize your response. Like if you look up, it's like business school lore, these stories of McKinsey questions. So they'll say, how many ping pong balls could you fit in the fuselage of a 747? And then they're like, think out loud for me. And they want you to actually come to a number and come to an answer, and they want to watch how you think. And they want to see how you get from point A to point B with whatever answer you come up with. I don't do that shit. I'm not trying to make former interns trip up and look stupid in front of me. But that's a pretty common MBA type approach coming out of business school. How complex can we make these mindfuck interview questions be?
That's pretty. I mean, I guess I could see a context in which it might be appropriate. Like maybe if you need to really see someone's critical thinking skills in a problem solving, highly competitive place. But it's I'm not in the business of fucking trying to trip people up. It doesn't make any sense. You're not going to get the real person. I don't think, especially in a setting like our gyms. I don't think you get to see the real person in that kind of setting. So
yeah. But it is big business. It's more common than not, to be honest. I mean, I interviewed for plenty of real people jobs right before we started this gym too. I was on the cusp of it. I had 2 offers I was considering at the exact time that Eric called me. And they were those type of interviews. One was with Reebok, and the other one was with an advertising agency that coincidentally held the New Balance account. I was interviewing, about to accept a role handling the advertising responsibilities that New Balance had contracted, and then you fast forward 5 years and I was under contract with New Balance in a different way. So it's kind of funny how the world works.
It's pretty awesome. It's pretty cool.
There's another one. I remember another question. Why are manhole covers round? It's actually pretty basic if you think about it. They're so fucking heavy. I've got that blocked. They're so heavy that the only way to move them is to roll them. So they make them round.
There you go.
Pete, I just looked up my second question that I posted in the forum.
Sure.
When you look into the next year, quotes or whatever, growth year to year, where, is there a certain way you look at it? Retention's huge. Do you look to move into an inefficient market or a new market? What is kind of your year to year strategy in terms of finding new things to do, or do you maintain, or, obviously now you're in a different position as CSP than 10 years ago, but can you maybe talk about what it was like 7 years ago versus what it's like now?
Yeah, it's a mentality shift for starters. Forget who I had this conversation with recently, but there's a really tough moment, I think, in all businesses or service platforms that live, that survive, that they have kind of a future to them. And it's that moment where you're not then like the new kid on the block anymore, and you don't have that what you think is sustainable perpetual growth. And so for us, it was double digit growth, 7 years. And I just thought that I had written the fucking recipe on business development, and I had it all figured out, and I was going to do 10% growth at a minimum year over year over year. And we got kicked in the mouth in year 8, in the sense that not that we lost money, but we plateaued. Year 8 was exactly what we did in year 7, almost within a couple, $200, which was crazy. And then year 9 was almost identical again. And so it all stopped. I hadn't added any additional resources. I hadn't added a huge number of employees. I just thought, we're so awesome that we keep doing what we're doing, and we're going to keep just printing money. And it kind of stung, because we were anticipating growth on that level and we didn't see it. But why would we deserve it? We weren't adjusting our strategy. And that's a tough moment when you come to terms with the fact that nothing lasts forever, and that at some point you're going to kind of, water finds its level. And year 7 is where we found that. And our strategy became a lot more deliberate at that moment in time, because it became almost entirely retention driven. And that was a moment that we realized acquiring more new clients is considerably more expensive than retaining the ones we already had. So we shifted our approach pretty dramatically into client relationship management, instead of just build the brand. If you build it, they will come. And we had to focus a lot harder on extracting leads from existing clients, and kind of competing in a market that's just becoming more and more watered down every day, with new gyms everywhere. So 7 years ago, it was make us as visible as possible to the baseball world as a whole, connect with as many agencies as we can and professional teams as we can, and the high school kids will just keep spilling in. And today, it's more, how can we improve the on the training floor client experience in every minute, hour, and day? I don't know if that makes sense, but it's very different. I guess the overall takeaway is, don't take growth for granted.
No, totally. That was what I was looking for.
Anyone want to share their experiences? Elaborate, vent?
About growth?
Or stagnation?
It
could even be with faction. You get a huge bump early on and tons of momentum, and then there's a pause button. I don't know if you've hit that yet, but you will.
No, I mean, I think the thing is I'm under no illusion there. So I think the one thing that has really helped us is, Pete's strategy of retention, rather than, we do try to expand the brand and get new people every time. But I think it's how do we wanted to build kind of a big extended family, and I think we did that. And I think that's been the best thing that's helped us. And it's because some of you guys have seen the same lessons 4 or 5 times now, and you're you still get excited about them, and you still read them, and you still come back every thing. And of course we evolve them, and we do a little bit different stuff, but I think we've been able to build that kind of extended family that people want to be a part of, and which is what we wanted. And I think that's helped. And I think the second thing is, and it works for me, it doesn't always work for everybody, is I set audacious goals, and it makes me work hard. So for the next 2, for us to get to 150 members in the faction, we have to gain 50 people each time and only lose 20, which is about average for what we do every time. So this past time, though, we gained 30 and lost 17. So, but if we hit 50 each time with 20, so 100 gross, lose 40, net 60, we'll be at 150 people. So, setting goals like that helps me, but also it's just like, for me, it's like I sit back and I'm like, well, how do I do right by all these people that continue to make sure that I can pay my bills and keep my lights on, and like I get to do this really cool shit. So it's like, well, we got to continue to make this better and make this evolve. So it's helping people, and their lives are actually getting better because they're a part of this. And like making that my focus and being obsessed with it has helped a ton. So I think that that's really, I don't know that I'm not a super business whiz or anything like that. That's just what I try to stick to with this whole thing, and showing people that we give a big shit.
That's the electronic version of exactly what I was saying we're doing on the training floor. It's a virtual version.
That's really it, man. And I think people try to complicate it and put a lot of smoke and mirrors up. Like there's things I think there's total value, like Pete says, about making sure that your fucking brand shit is in line and you're putting yourself out there the way you want to put it out, and it's telling the right story and attracting people, and like making sure that your systems work well enough to collect the people that come to you because they like what you're hearing and stuff. But beyond that, from what I've noticed at the gym and Strength Faction and being in business for like not as long as Pete, but 7 years, that's really it. Unless you want to be, I don't have any desires to be a millionaire. Like I know what it would take for me to be a millionaire, and I would either hate myself or everyone else would hate me, and I don't really want to do that. So, but for us to get to the level of success that we've had so far and keep going forward, I think it's not much more difficult than that, and getting help where you need it. So
I like that response. I want to be a millionaire.
What's that?
I said I want to be a millionaire.
Well, I guess it depends. That I should add context to that. I guess in what time frame? You know what I mean? So
yeah.
That's
I don't mean I'll compromise who I am or what I'm about to do. And we're on the same page.
Yeah, it's just about time frame. Like I'll be a millionaire when I'm 47 if I can do it the right way when I'm 31. You know what I mean? So
I think the best way to articulate it is I want to retire, and I want to enjoy my retirement. I'm not someone who's going to be hell-bent on working into his 80s. I have no intention of doing so. I'm definitely numbers driven and motivated by like self kind of measurable challenges. And my favorite meeting is every 6 months when my wife and I meet with our advisor, and we see if we've managed to chop a year off of that projected retirement age. It's like the best if we can go from 59 to 58, it's like high fives. And so to me, that's what kind of drives me, just the fun, like the game of it. So yeah. Not at the expense of like character or, my own principles. I don't mean that I'm going to sell out to be a millionaire, but I love the chase.
Oh no, dude. Yeah, I'm totally on board with that. But it's like, you look at it, there's a lot of people around this business that don't think that way, and they play a much shorter game. And that's like kind of the thing to what, because it's alluring. And like, there's a lot of people that will, they're charismatic and they're easy to follow and easy to pay attention to. And it seems like they got some shit figured out. And then, I've been lucky enough to be around the industry and meet a lot of people and meet a lot of those people in real life and be like, you're not happy, and you're certainly not as cool as you fucking make yourself out to be. You know what I mean? So I think that's just, I think it's being able to avoid that stuff and realize, like you said, like those goals down the line are more important. Like even for us, like we started working with a financial advisor through Strength Faction, and because one of the things that I really like about Strength Faction as a business is that it creates stability for Mike, Chris, and I, in more than one way. So, it keeps us from just solely relying on our gyms. And then also it's like, it gives us the means to branch out more. So like one of my goals is to take a lot of the money that we make from Strength Faction and start to get into other industries, whether that's real estate or alcohol or something like that. Those are the two big ones that I'm thinking about, because they're both kind of recession proof, and start to move in those directions laterally, or so we have like this. It's like we have our passion and something that we really do our work on, and then here's something that when we're 60 or if we're in our 40s and something happens to the market, we're not fucked. So that's one of the things. But talking with our financial advisor, like I wanted to jump the gun and start throwing money at shit right now, and he's like, tap the brakes, guy. You're not quite there. He's like, let's get 60 grand in the bank, and then we'll start thinking about what kind of moves we can make. And so that's another thing, that just having those kind of markers like that works for me too. And it's like, I want to buy a house in Pennsylvania. So like just being able to, I think actually wanting something and then like only going through the channels of your own character to get that something is kind of the most sustainable way to do it, I think, if that makes sense.
For me, it's just survive college tuition 18 years from now.
Yeah.
For the record, our advisor is projecting $500,000 a kid by the
Jeez.
time Colin is college eligible.
I think that bubble might burst by the time your kids get to school, though, man.
I agree. I think there's going to be an educational revolution.
Yeah.
I always like to tell the story. My closest friend in the world was the 6th employee at Facebook. This is a dude who, at 36, is sitting on many multiples of that and millions of dollars. For starters, I'll tell you, he's not happy. But secondly, he always says, he's got 2 little boys. He says, the only way I'll pay for college for my kids is if it's to learn how to write code or to speak Mandarin. And to me, that's like a pretty good indicator of the direction of the way things are going here. And I don't think my sons are going to go to a traditional college or university the way that we all did, but it hasn't changed yet. So for now, I got a plan as if it isn't going to change and go from there. So the 529 is getting fed a pretty healthy wage every month here right now.
Understandable. That's scary.
So I want to talk about Thomas Plummer because yesterday was fun. There's nothing I love more than watching the old guard of business guys put their foot in their mouth and then argue about it even further when they could have just been like, I fucked up.
Yeah, that poor guy. I mean, well, here, I'll give you this. I will say this about Thomas Plummer. I've had personal interaction with the man. And no, actually, I should say it this way. I've had personal disregard from the man. So when I was at RTS, Mike hired Thomas Plummer to come in to help us get shit straight. We had a pretty good athlete business, but that's all we had. And it wasn't cutting it. And so Plummer comes in, walks around the gym, is talking to Mike and our accountant and stuff like that, goes and looks at things, asks them questions. Like, meanwhile, there are clients on the floor. I'm on the floor. One of the other coaches, Corey, is on the floor. And he doesn't engage anybody. He doesn't interact with anybody. He doesn't try to meet the staff or like do anything like that. Like normal, like, hey, I'm a fucking human being. How you doing? Type of shit. And then he calls Corey in to ask him questions about, he had worked at the commercial gym right down the street called The Edge.
Okay.
And he calls in Corey, doesn't say hello, doesn't say anything, like just calls Corey in and starts just peppering him with questions about this commercial gym. So it's like everything that I've had personally interacting with the guy, I haven't been impressed with. And it's just like, to me, that post, like I wasn't going to get into a fight about it, but it was so intellectually lazy and just fucking trolling for like support of like, rah. It was just like, come on, dude. Like, what are you even fucking trying to do? Like, you didn't think a second about what you just said. So.
You're just stirring the pot.
Yeah. Which he did. And looked stupid as he did it. So that was fun.
The alarm on his phone went off, said, you need to make Facebook posts. And he's like, fuck. Here we go.
Yeah. I don't know. And like, I've read some of his stuff and I've read his books, and some of them, like, I think some of his theories are wrong. Some of the things are good, but I wasn't like, yeah, this dude knows, you know? So I don't know. I've never got that feeling from him. So
I think he encourages reckless entrepreneurial behavior with new business owners. I hate the go big and fail big. Like, I cannot believe that he'll stand in front of a Perform Better room and tell them that the sweet spot is 7,000 to 10,000 square feet for your first facility.
it's insane.
that to me it's carelessly and shamelessly burning through other people's money. And
Yeah.
like, I'm not going to take on any of the risks, so fuck it. Go big. Because if you hit big, you're going to be the one with a big profitable gym in your market. But if you don't, hey, it's your credit score, not mine. And that sucks. So we conflict on a lot of opinions. I shouldn't say we conflict. He has no fucking idea who I am. But we don't share the same value structure as it relates to small business startup.
Yeah. I mean, and well, there's questions there too. It's like, what is his gym like? Is it good? Like, do they make money? Like, how does he run it? Like, there's so many questions there.
I didn't even know he owned one.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I think there was something in the middle of Massachusetts that he owned or something.
Yeah. Okay, here's the deal. Is he owned it? I don't know where the fuck it was. Massachusetts, maybe, right. He had a like commercial fitness facility there that they did the whole like gym membership thing and then personal training. And his big claim to fame was his like outrageously high like percentage of personal training clients. So like if they had 400 like total members at the gym, he had close to half of those in personal training. That was his thing. Was that people came through the door, they signed up for a gym membership, and then he got them to pay for personal training.
In 92.
Yeah, I was gonna say
92, yeah, back when a lot of this shit, like he did a good job of paying attention at the time, seeing there's some new shit coming up, we're gonna try it, so he could get all these different like revenue streams. But it's not 1992 anymore.
Well, yeah, it's like
this shit doesn't work.
You're not charging people $20 for a fucking gym membership and then $20 for a personal training session, and like there's no quality or standard to the product. Another thing that's a really big problem with that post, the biggest problem that you can see if you dissect it and you think about it, it's like you're doing a really bad job consulting with your people, because all of these issues are leadership problems. They're not millennial problems. They're people that don't know how to manage people. So first of all, you hired the wrong fucking person. Or second of all, you don't have the skills to develop someone into the person that you need them to be for your business. So he's absolving all of his clients of their responsibility to do what they should do, while also completely like not helping them develop their business in the way that they should. So rather than being truthful with the person that they need to be truthful, he's just standing on his porch in his underwear and saying, "Get off my yard." Like it's reckless. It's irresponsible. It's just not good. It's not good at all. And it's like, everyone in this call, except for Carrie and Pete, is technically a millennial. I'm a millennial. We're all millennials.
Technically a millennial. Don't call me that old.
You are? I thought it cut off the. How old are you?
First edition millennial, born in
You
80.
are? Okay. All right. So I thought they didn't start till like 83. So
I'm the only one that's fucked.
there you go.
Yeah.
I read an article the other day about
Thomas loves you, Carrie.
Thank you.
there's some university professor in the Midwest who's making the term Zennials.
Okay.
And there's this like 6-year block of people between Gen X and millennials where basically, and I would fall right in it, it's the people who grew up without the internet, but were also early adopters of it. And so like for me, the day I left for college, we did not have an internet connection in my house. But at the same time, I was handed a laptop as part of my tuition at Babson. And Eric Cressy and I remember the morning of our first day on campus, we were each like, let's download this instant messenger thing and let's see if we can use it. And my username was PeteMD201. Peter, Michael Dupuy, and Eric and I lived in room 201 in Forest Hall. And his was Eric MC10, and that was Eric Martin Cressy, and his favorite number was 10. And we launched this shit on our first day of college, and then we were like, all right, we figured that out. Now let's do email. And we figured out how to use email together on the first day of school. By the time we got back for Thanksgiving break, my brother, who was 11 years old at the time, had downloaded every fucking movie and song on Napster. He had LimeWire cranking on our home computer. We had a desktop in the middle of the living room, and it was his world. And so it's like this explosion in technology happened literally like right at that moment that I was in like this transformational period. So I do kind of bridge this gap between like that previous generation and this new entitled one. And I mean, depending on where you read it, some will say that millennials start in 81.
Really? I didn't. Everything I heard up till then was 83, but that makes sense. But I don't know. It's
Well, I think kind of relating to what you were saying with him not putting his consulting clients in the right position, I think it ties right back to a quote that I shared 5 minutes before we got on this call on Instagram from Gary Vee, where he said, "Don't put your principles above the realities of the market." And my comparison was, I put my principles over the realities of the market for years by not embracing strength camps or boot camp, whatever you want to call it, because I thought we were too good for it. We're the fucking individualized program guys. We're above that, which is bullshit, and it's embarrassing. But I was putting my principles above the reality. Well, we rolled it out. Now strength camp is 4% of my overhead as far as cost goes, and over 10% of my revenues. It's far and away the most efficient and profitable piece of my business. And I finally realized that the reality of the market was there's a demand for it. So get off your high horse and go start it. That's what Thomas is doing. He's not realizing that, like it or not, the reality of the market is your employees are going to be millennials. That's the way it is. So you can stand on your throne on Facebook and bitch about them, or you can actually figure them out, figure out how to lead them. And I think there are some things in his post that resonated with me, but I can't make a blanket statement saying that all of that applies to an entire generation from people built in a several decade span.
Yeah. I also like even the young ones, like the ones that we have worked with as interns and stuff. It's like, and maybe it's just, and I can, obviously it's not a representative sample, but from the experience that I've had, they're not lazy. Lazy is not the right word. And I wouldn't say it's entitled. Sometimes it is. I think it's mostly they feel like they deserve to be attached to a bigger purpose already, and they want to do something like that because they have all of this access to this inspirational shit. Like, I think that that's it. And when you can like hone that in and then give them some realism in the face of that and hold them to some standards, they do pretty fucking well. You just can't be an asshole and be like, well, you're going to do this, because you'll lose them. Because first of all, they have access to too much fucking information, and they're bright. And it's like, you just don't know what you're doing, old man. Like, that's really all it is. So it's just sad. It was just really sad. It was poorly done.
Well, especially for someone who's supposed to be a leader.
He's not a leader. I've never seen anything from that man that makes me say leader. Like,
yeah.
There's not
well, the way he positions himself as a coach and a leader who can like take your business wherever, and he has a pretty good size following. So it's wildly disappointing that, like you said, like he would just throw out a blanket statement like that. That's just kind of being lazy.
He's been good at branding himself. He's also really good at trying to paint people into molds and stuff, like his speaker school and all this kind of stuff. Like, you have to do it this way. And it's like, why, motherfucker? Like, he just, I don't know. He functions off a very limited, very rigid paradigm. And it's just not intelligent. It's just not, from my estimation, it's just not all that well thought out. And it crumbles under the face of minimal scrutiny. And that's really the problem, because it's intellectually lazy, I think, is the biggest thing, the easiest way to say it. So
it's good for us, though.
But it is good for us. That's for damn sure.
It's so easy for us to differentiate in front of his audience.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
I will say that.
So I always have this this long-standing agreement with my wife as far as travel goes, that I can travel once quarterly for speaking engagements. Obviously, my wife is not a dictator. If I say to her, I got a great opportunity, can I go do this? She's like, yeah, go for it. But we have one understanding that no matter how many travel engagements I've booked, if Perform Better came up, I could go do Perform Better, because if you can get in front of a room of 1,000 people, you do. Well, until Plummer gets kicked off that series and Cosgrove decides he doesn't want to do it anymore, and Rick Mayo decides he's not going to give the same presentation they've all been giving for 10 years, I'm never going to get a sniff of it. Fisher grabbed it last year. They don't give those opportunities too often. He's not letting go of it. He's a pro. So that, I just think of the old guard, those guys, as people who they can't fuck up enough times and still keep getting opportunities. So I laugh every time I see it, but I know at the same time they're going to be there next year. He'll be on 3 steps on the tour, and he'll talk to 3,000 fitness professionals, and he'll sell a shitload of consulting. And the best I can say is, a bunch of mediocrity is going to enter the market again with more space than they need, more equipment than they need. And guess what? We're the ones who are going to buy it all for pennies on the dollar. And we're going to take their clients when they're done with it. I've already watched it happen a handful of times in 10 years.
Oh, absolutely. And it's like, I don't know, it's like the equivalent of like, are you going to stand, like, fight a battle like the Civil War and like stand in front of each other from 50 yards away and shoot each other in the chest? Or are you going to hide and set up booby traps and fucking do what you got to do to win the goddamn fight? Like, that's, so you can stand there and you're in the field, man. Like, we're going to do things a little bit of a different way. So just behind the times. It's just sad. Like that, honestly, another thing that does is like makes me sit down and say, fuck, when I'm 60, don't be that asshole. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Well, that's what I think is terrifying about this industry for every one of us. We're all getting older.
Yeah.
And how do we continue to seem relevant with a pretty broad target audience, especially if you're like me and you're in the performance sector and you're taking care of athletes? There's a big difference between how I interact with an 18-year-old high school client now than when I was 25.
Sure.
I don't give a shit. They think I'm a dad. There are half the kids in our gym. When there's 40 kids out there today at 4:30 and the place is cranking and it's a good training environment, and I walk out there to get a lift in, there are 10 kids in the gym who think I'm the father of another athlete on the training floor who decided he was going to fuck around in the gym that day too. And that sucks, but, the solution is hire young and, get age-appropriate people to do your bidding as far as interacting with the athletes that you are enticing coming through the door. But what about when I'm 10 years from now? When I'm 46, am I still going to run an effective performance enhancement business that is perceived to be some sort of industry leader? I don't know. Eric's going to be 46 too. We're going to be twice the age of our average employee probably at that time. So I don't know if I'm going to be a curmudgeon as well. Who knows? He might just be beaten down.
I say he might just, those kind of things are reflective of someone's internal environment too. And it's like of what he's seeing and like what he's choosing to see, you know what I mean? So I don't think as a person you are that. So I don't think that's totally a concern for you, but it's just, it's sad because I don't know, you're going to divide people, but if you look at that, there's a lot of comments on there that people are like, you got a lot of support for it too. You got a lot of support. So who knows, man, but it's just, the good thing is like, it'll eventually crumble, cause it's just too rigid. It doesn't adapt well enough. So
yeah. Well, we've all got our little army of fans. A great example, we had Jordan Syed in for our fall seminar presentation. Former intern. We're given a slot every year at the end of our seminar from like a former intern who's out doing big things. And Jordan gave a presentation on social media strategy because he is appropriately qualified to do so considering his environment right now.
Sure.
And he opted to try and emulate Gary Vee and do like a very Q&A driven, engage with the audience format. And he failed to take into consideration that he was the last presentation in an 8-hour day of lectures. And there's a room full of people who it's 4:30 on a Sunday afternoon and they're checked out mentally. And when him just kind of pacing in front of the room, he didn't use any slides. And he says, all right, who here does this? And like 3 hands go up. It's the same 3 every time. And he never got the engagement he was anticipating. And it was the energy of the event was stifled instantaneously. And it was a grind of a presentation. When the seminar reviews came in, we got 56 people to actually thoroughly fill out this review form. And on a 10-point scale, let's say the range was like a 6.8 to an 8.7 as far as presenter reviews go. Well, Jordan was the 6.8. However, he should have been like a 2.8, but he had like 5 or 10 people who were hard 10s across the board. Every one of them loved the format, loved the personal nature of his approach, couldn't get enough of the interaction. I mean, just like the most glowing review you've ever seen. Like he had the 5 most favorable individual reviews out of the whole list of us, but he also had 50 of the worst reviews you've seen. I think it's just a perfect example of that. We have our fans and we lean hard on them to preach our message, but we're not going to please everybody. Plummer knew that when he hit post.
Oh, sure.
He was gonna antagonize some people strategically, and had he not engaged with you guys in the forum on those and gone so in depth and decided he was going to argue, I would have thought more of the post in the sense that I'd say, hey, that was just strategy on his part. That was a strategic play. You all fed into it. You got played. But instead, he played the game and argued with everybody. I thought, well, you look like a fucking angry old man.
Yeah.
That was not a positive strategic move. But again, if he dropped the mic and walked away and left that there, in my mind, I would have been like, you know, I still think he's a cranky old man, but that was a play and you guys all stepped into it.
Yeah.
But he didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's sad. That sucks to hear about Jordan too, but I think I think there's two lessons to be learned there. It's like, first, like sometimes people just get really excited about people on the internet and like they won't break that thought process. And second of all, like don't fucking try to emulate people, man. Like you gotta just do your thing, you know?
Yeah, and I think maybe what he overlooked was the fact that when Gary Vee goes to an event, he's more of a headliner than he is.
They just paid him $100,000 to do it.
Yeah, and then the room is full of people who were like craving his message. When you come to our fall seminar, the reality is you're standing in a room of people who are excited to see Eric talk. And everybody else is like, it's house money. If they do a good job, great. If not, they're like, well, I came to see Eric anyway, so I don't give a shit. So, I mean, I came to terms with that a while ago, but he approached it as if he was like a headliner and just didn't get that engagement. I wasn't mad at him. I mean, you gotta learn those lessons by doing. And it was, I think had he gone first out the gate, that format would have played just fine. Because you got 180 people who are fired up to learn for the day and ready to engage with the process.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't the way it was structured. He was the last one in because he had an obligation in the morning to coach Gary, and he needed to get here mid to late day. And so it was a timing error and then kind of misreading your audience.
Totally. Hey, can I take 10 minutes to pick your guys' brain on something or get your opinion?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
As long as I can ask a question at the end, yeah.
Well, why don't you go first, Trey?
No, this is probably going to spill over, so you go first. Go.
Well,
No, let's get yours in, Trey, because I have a hard stop time of 12 because all my clients arrive. And I'm always happy to make time for you to chat later.
Okay, so today is my official second day of not being at my former gym anymore. So I'm a little bit shitting my pants on that this actually happened. So like I'm very scattered right now. I feel like I'm trying to do a lot of things at once. I already have 13 clients that are coming with me. Hopefully I'm able to get in my new space on Monday. If not, like I can still train at my old gym. But what would be your first move? Because I'm it's great that I have 13 clients already, but I need more people in the door. So what would be like your strategy, like out of the gate, like to try and get someone in? Because I don't have like a huge social media following at the moment. Still working on building some of that stuff. I don't want to pump a bunch of money into Facebook ads. I honestly don't have. So
What's your new space?
what do you mean?
Well, you say you're in your new space on Monday. Do you have your own spot?
Yeah.
How big?
1,500 square feet.
Okay. I think it's unacceptable to say I'm just not that big on social. I think that's ignoring the realities of the market.
Yeah.
So a great example would be one that's like a never-ending battle for me right now. Look at what the guys at the Strength House are doing. Greg and Tony B. They've fucking extracted tens of thousands of dollars from my business. They left and they took a ton of clients, and they're leveraging social real hard to make the gym feel busy. And perceived busyness is a big, big thing. If you look closely enough and you know the people as well as I do, because I know how many dollars it's cost me, you realize that it is the same 12 people in a variety of different locations in the gym and places every single day, and the same people tagged. But they're doing a very nice job of making it feel like a gym that is frequented and busy. The reality is they have 12 clients. You're in the same place. I think if you look at their social strategy, you might want to emulate it a little bit, because they're doing a nice job of creating a perception of busyness, which does admittedly drive business. Empty gyms, you walk into an empty gym and you're a younger, energized athlete, my first thought is like, all right, so what's wrong here? Why is there nobody here? I'm not inspired by this environment. So same goes for internet presence. People are going to look for you on social first, especially if you want to work with people under the age of 50. They're all on it.
Yeah.
And so just saying I'm not that good at it is not okay if you complain about earning potential, because it's mandatory if you're going to run a fitness business these days to be visible there.
Yeah. It's not necessarily like a not good at it thing. It's just like everything I've done previously has gone into this other brand.
Yeah.
So there was nothing like, I don't have like of a personal following. I don't have like thousands of people following me. And it's just going to take a little bit of time to get that built up and going.
Well, you don't need
I recognize that that's definitely one of the things, like it needs to be kind of a primary strategy, because I mean, I do it. If somebody tells me about something or anything like that, the first thing I do is look it up. If they've got Facebook or Instagram, that's where I'm going.
Exactly. And there was a great quote from Jordan in his presentation where he said he'd rather have five followers who would die for him than 500,000 who don't give a fuck. And you don't need 1,000 followers. You need an engaged audience.
Yeah.
And so you gotta play the game. You gotta comment. You gotta comment back. You gotta interact with people. You can't just put it out there and just expect people to praise you.
Yeah.
I learned a great lesson from Jordan, or I accepted a great challenge. He told a story that the first week that he was coaching Gary Vee, Gary said, you got to be a bigger presence on Instagram. Jordan had 3,000 followers on Instagram. And Jordan's like, I'll figure it out. It's just going to take time. And Gary said, you don't have the benefit of time. Instagram could be irrelevant in 2 weeks. He's like, but it's relevant today. So get on there, and I want you to take the 30-day challenge. And for him, the 30-day challenge was 3 posts a day on any platform that you are on that you see relevance in for 30 days. Non-negotiable, you got to get 90 posts up over that period. It feels excessive, but consistency and visibility there is everything. And so I said to Jordan, fine, I'll accept that challenge. So on October 23rd, I started the 90-day challenge, and I decided I was going to do it on Twitter and Instagram. I've increased my Twitter engagement by over 700% in 10 days. I increased my Instagram following by over 20% in 8 days. It took me a year to get to like 800 followers. I added 250 in 8 days. And it was just by consistency. Just be there, be visible. And his rule is just, if anybody comments on anything, you've got to respond to it. And I think it's a good starting point for running your gym too. We realized within 3 or 4 days the momentum that it was giving to my personal brand, and we applied all of the policies to our company brands. And we set publication rules: 2 Instagram posts a day, 5 stories a day, 2 tweets a day. Just be there, be visible, and engage with your clients. And it's working. It's really working for us.
Okay. Yeah, Nick said the same thing yesterday. Was get on there, reply, comment. Like if people are commenting, like they're trying to engage you, and you need to engage back. Like it has to go both ways.
Yeah, exactly. You can't take people's attention for granted.
Okay. I can do that.
And provide a good experience. Get something going that people want to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all word of mouth. Todd.
Okay. I'll take the challenge. Back to you, Todd.
All right. Well, I don't know if you guys saw that Chris and I have been working through this Building a Story brand book. You guys see that we've been doing that? We've been talking about it.
I'm familiar with Story Brand, but
what's that?
I'm familiar with the concept of Story Brand.
Okay, so we've been working through that to redo our websites and our branding and stuff for both of the businesses. And so let me do this real quick. Just a second. Oh, here it is. Okay, I got it. So I'll do this. I'm going to share something with you real quick. So this website I'm kind of using, they give it as an example. You guys see that?
Yep.
So I'm using this as kind of a template to kind of put our new Strength Faction website together. And so my plan for like this above the fold page is a picture of a trainer and client, and they're like fist bumping and they're smiling, like something factiony, not like super corny or some shit, but you know what I mean. And then what this, instead of this line, that we help parents, I wanted to say, and I'm just trying to get your feedback if you guys agree with this or if like you think it could be edited or what. I wanted to say we help personal trainers become elite and improve their quality of life. And then underneath for like the qualifying statement, it's going to say, join the worldwide community of trainers that have trusted us with their professional and personal development.
I like it.
Yeah. And then I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do with the call to action there. Either our book that we already have, or we're going to do a new thing where we're putting out, we have one of my Art of Coaching presentations recorded, and we're going to give that away for free, kind of segment the list a little bit better. And then down here.
Can I hit pause for 1 sec?
Yeah.
I might change the wording, just flip the order. I'd say we help trainers improve their quality of life by becoming elite.
That's
to
nice.
me, the message that speaks to me more is improving my quality of life first.
Yeah.
Becoming elite second. That's just my 2 cents.
No, I like that a lot. Improve their quality of life by becoming elite. That's why I like you, Pete. You got good shit.
You might be dead wrong. There might be someone there who's like, Pete just messed up what was already a good line.
No, we'll test it. I mean,
I was kind of thinking the same thing.
Quality of life is everything here to me.
I think it is to most people too. And
That's why I joined Faction.
There you go.
Exactly.
But I mean, I wanted to be a better coach, but I didn't want it to be like at the expense of like everything else. And that was kind of initially back in last December, that was kind of the message you guys were putting out. It's still the message you're putting out, but I wasn't worried about becoming like the best trainer ever. I was just like, how do I get my shit together so I can help people and not be miserable?
Perfect. Thanks for that, buddy. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been trying to do the story brand thing with my website too.
Did you buy the book?
I bought the audiobook.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. So I'll show you what I have.
Sure.
Can I share my screen?
Should
Well,
I
do
buy
that.
the book?
Email it over. I have to have a hard stop at noon too, actually. So
Okay.
Send it over, post it in the forum or something, and we can get a conversation going.
Cool. That works.
Awesome.
All right. I'll put that article up on the forum that I mentioned on when to hire an admin.
Awesome. Thanks, dude.
I think it was for
Yep.
Casey.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Buddy.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
See ya.